Welcome to the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. It is me, Sal, Mr. Boxing Guru. Guys, hope everybody's having a great week. There's a lot of fights to talk about. A lot of fights, upcoming fights. A lot of fights that happened this weekend, including Leo Santa Cruz versus Rafael Rivera. Figueroa versus John Molina. There's the Gypsy King, signing to ESPN. And of course, a couple of fights coming up this weekend. And again, there's a lot to talk about. First things first, let's start right out the bat with the main event of the weekend. It was Leo Santa Cruz's decision over Rafael Rivera. Now, what did we get from that fight? What happened in that fight? Were you entertained? I hope so. Boxing fans deserve to be entertained. We saw Leo Santa Cruz versus a leg replacement. Again, I'm not knocking it because but PBC has had a couple of main events, at least one of the sides cancel. We saw a couple of weeks ago, it was Abner Mares. And now, again, Rafael Rivera is a leg replacement. I believe Rafael Rivera had a fight coming up as well, so it didn't seem as much as a mismatch as a Tank's replacement, but nonetheless, it's still not. But even the guy that Leo was supposed to fight wasn't at Leo's level, at least on paper. But what do we really get from Leo? What are we getting from Leo? Leo was one of the guys that was very entertaining coming up. It was must-see TV up to a certain extent, especially after like his 10th fight. I know Cameron Duncan even released him when he was, I'm not sure if he was a top-ranked fighter at one point, but I know it was a Cameron Duncan fighter because he just wasn't entertaining enough. But he blossomed into a great, fun brawler, and he somehow evolved into something else as of late. So, but then again, nothing after that. Leo has about 2 fighters that he's had good fights with. Of course, it's Mares being the other and Frampton the other, I guess you could say. Mares being one and Frampton the other. Other than that, that's it. There's no one fighter that you could say, okay, you know what? That was a formidable opponent for Leo. And don't get me wrong, I get it. These guys at the end of the day need to make their money, but it's not my duty to count a fighter's money. I don't care about what they make. I don't care of what they've made of themselves. I just hope that they have enough money to have a good life after it's all said and done. But what I care about is their career. Leo, again, I really like Leo. I enjoy him as a person. I think he's a genuine good guy. But his career has been lackluster, and I think he deserves better. I don't know if he necessarily wants it because he fights. I don't want to say this, but he reminds me of a Mexican Winky Wright. With his high guard, which again, there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself, but I'm not dying to go to a Leo Santa Cruz fight. I want to see the fight maybe a day later. As a matter of fact, I think I watched it today, Monday. But I'm not dying to see a Leo Santa Cruz. So what does a fight like a Rafael Rivera do to a guy like Leo? My opinion, absolutely nothing. Do I want to see Leo in good fights? Hell yeah. I want to see him versus the Tanks, like he mentioned, the Gary Russells. Or better yet, maybe even versus a Jojo Diaz. A fight with Jojo Diaz would be magnificent. Jojo Diaz, of course, has fought in he's been leased out to the PBC before versus Gary Russell. Would they be willing to do something like that for Jojo, or maybe letting DAZN borrow Leo? Is there too much money necessarily involved to do it? But I would love it. I just want to see Leo in a very entertaining fight. And I'm sorry, but a fight with Mares really doesn't do it for me because they're just, to me, they were just 2 guys throwing arm punches at each other. Again, Mares on his own right has a Hall of Fame career, but Leo just doesn't. Even if Leo has beaten Mares, you can't equate the career that Mares had to what Leo is actually doing. I want to see Leo in a good fight. I want to see him do great. I understand it's got to be hard to want those tough fights if PBC and friends are regardless going to give you $1 million. So I understand his willingness not to dare to be great. But as a boxing fan, he needs to understand that not many fans, and Leo has a very good fan base, but not many fans are going to die to really see him. I mean, the numbers themselves showed it. I think being 10 fights or whatever it is that they had, 12 fights at Microsoft this weekend showed that you could tell that the fan base really wasn't interested in this type of fights. Again, Leo deserves better. The Southern California fan base deserves better. Why not give him better? Hopefully Leo in his next fight stops bullshitting and stop taking these opponents that are not at his level. That way he could start fighting at his level, like he did versus Mares, like he did versus Frampton. We know he's got it. Does he know he's got it, or is he content just fighting mediocre opposition and just going on about his business? That's the thing with Leo. As far as the co-main event, which I was very happy for, I was one of those co-main events that I said, okay, this is it. This is where PBC really turns it up and puts Omar Figueroa versus John Molina, and somehow gives us a hell of a fight. I mean, this year has been great for Fight of the Year candidates already, but John Molina and Omar Figueroa are really going to bring it, and they're going to just beat the living shit out of each other, and I'm going to be drooling on them. It's not what happened. We got a guy that looked like, one of your tios took his shirt off. One of your flaquito tios that takes his shirts off and only you see the little pancita there and está tirando chingados. Vente cabrón, este para tu madre, vete la verga, este chingar madre. That's all you saw in Omar Figueroa. And Omar Figueroa is the most privileged, great fighter, great brawler there is. Omar Figueroa is one of those talents, and I know he's a very intelligent kid. That's what trips me out. Very intelligent kid, a kid that you want to see brawl, a kid that'll beat the heart out of you. But somehow we got this version of Omar Figueroa. In my opinion, I said, you know what? Omar Figueroa is going to rise to the occasion. John Molina is a guy that's career 135-pounder. Yes, John Molina's a brawler, but he's going to go right through him. And that's not what he did. At some point, he said something about, I hurt my hand in the third, fourth round, and I couldn't do what I was doing. Bullshit. Maybe you did hurt your hand. I don't know. You're wearing pretty good gloves. I think he was wearing Grand, so I don't buy it. I know he's had hand injuries before, but I just think he just couldn't move to Mirabal like a little chubby. And again, I'm not one to talk about chunkiness because I'm a fat ass, but he should have done a lot better. I think Figueroa deserved to maybe put Molina away, and Molina deserved a formidable opponent because, I mean, if he was, look, Molina's been in this as a B-side for many years now. I mean, his best loss is probably versus Lucas Matisse, and he's just a fighter that we know what he could bring. He gives us an honest, hard work. But even this version of Molina, maybe he's literally done. I mean, as a top contender, you could say. His legs weren't there. It almost, again, to me, they almost mirrored each other, Figueroa and John Molina. But I think they were gonna be vulnerable enough where they could beat the shit out of each other. We could at least enjoy it, but it wasn't even enjoyable. It was just, it looked sloppy. It looks like their feet were tangling. It just, again, I expected so much better. And it makes you think, what would have happened if Victor Ortiz would have been up to the test? And I know, we knock on Victor because Victor's a little goofy and he's chinny and whatnot. But remember, John Molina he had popped at 135, maybe even a little bit at 140. But Victor's a career 147 now. I know he started at 140, but he's been fighting at 147 so much that I think Victor Ortiz would have done some solid damage, if not ended John Molina's career, if this version of John Molina would have showed up. And again, I like John Molina just like Figueroa. Their intelligence, in my opinion, do not match the way they fight, because John Molina is a very intelligent kid. You hear his interviews and shit, he almost inspires you, man. He sounds so great. He's just a great talker. And Figueroa, the same thing. He's shit. I've seen him on Instagram, on Twitter. He's a great troll in his own right. But, and again, it doesn't match the way they fight, because they fight with what I think is a lot of heart. It's a very aggressive, come forward fighting. But again, going back to John Molina, can't help to think what would have happened to John Molina. What would a Victor would have done? What would any other different welterweight would have done to these guys? I know the fight was at 140. The fight ended up like at 145 or whatnot. Is it time for them to be fed to the elite welterweights that we know PBC has? The Keith Thurmans, the Errol Spence? Is that what their career's gone to? I think, in my opinion, yes. Why would you want to waste your time being a Figueroa fan when you know he's great, but you know he's not going to put that 100% effort? If Mike, I mean, in my opinion, what's next for Figueroa? If Mikey unfortunately loses, which it kind of looks like it might happen versus Errol Spence. Again, I'm still cheering for Mikey, but if that does happen, I would love to see Figueroa versus Mikey Garcia, maybe at 140-ish or 145-ish. For John Molina, I think he deserves a rematch with DeMarco. I think it's a great fight. I think DeMarco's still out there fighting, and I remember John Molina somehow turned his back in the first round and technically got knocked out, if I'm not mistaken. It was a TKO. So why not go that route for him? I think there's just one of those fights that were matched with good intentions of having a good fight, where these fights were equally matched, sort of like the main event that's coming up this Saturday with Brandon Rios, but somehow it just didn't come into fruition. Other than that, the undercard, let's talk about the undercard or overcard, if you want to call it that. It wasn't necessarily fun to be if you were a Hugo Centeno fan, because Hugo was a nice kid and whatnot, and he's fighting in his card. He has a chance to fight in his hometown, but somehow he's fighting at almost 11 o'clock at night. It's 1, 2 in the morning in the East Coast. It's Sunday and back in the UK. So boxing fans that want to stay up and watch these fights, they really can't, because they can't cheer for their guys, because they're fighting way out of their time. I think Hugo was gloved up since like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and then somehow he didn't fight till real late. What happens to the kids wants to take a shit? He can't take a shit because now he's gloved up. He can't take the gloves out. He can't take the tape off. Because PBC somehow can't follow a fucking schedule and decides to put 12 fights in one card. And guys, I know you're going to say, oh, you guys are never happy. You either get 5 fights, at Velasco, or 4 fights at Velasco, or you get 12 over here. No, it's not it. The thing is, there's club shows for a reason, to develop these fighters, to showcase these fighters, to show them grow, not just throw all your stable at one card because you have a card, you have, asses to seats to put asses on. That's not the whole point. The whole point is you got to give these guys appropriate time, or don't let them, or lease them out to other networks or whatnot. I'm sure ESPN has plenty of dates for your guys, but what I'm trying to say is that it's kind of fucked up for a guy like Centeno to be fighting so late, and I'm sure it was very little money compared to what he's used to. I know that the whole point of going to PBC is for the money, but not if you're going to be treated like that. In my opinion, and the Licona too. I mean, it was very late at night. I think they went in the ring at 10 o'clock. So it's just bullshit. Get it together, PBC. I'm honestly, I'm to the point where if it's boxing, I'm rooting for you. Do what you got to do, PBC. Do better. Boxing deserves better. Your fighter deserves better. Not just the top 5-6 names that you got. Not just your Errol Spence, your Mikey Garcias, your Keith Thurmans. matter. You made such a deep stable. Take care of them. Take care of them now. They deserve it. All right, enough with that. Let's talk about Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury decided to go to ESPN and threw another curveball at Deontay Wilder and friends. You know what? I really don't know what to think. I don't know what was the reasoning behind it. I get it. Look, he was obviously brought in as an opponent for Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder was supposed to knock this guy out. In my opinion, the Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury fight was boring to begin with. The only thing that made this fight great was the fact that the son of a bitch got up. He got up and he was halfway dead in the floor, and he somehow made it up. But that gave him a whole new career. That gave him the benefit of Deontay Wilder winning that fight. Deontay Wilder got away with him having a draw. He was supposed to lose that fight. Not supposed to. He lost that fight. He wasn't supposed to lose the fight. I'm sorry. Wilder was supposed to win this fight. And in my opinion, he lost it. Now Tyson Fury is making some moves, and now he's going with the biggest possible network here in the U.S., which is ESPN, as far as boxing goes. And good for him. I think now let's take it to a purse bid. Whoever wins that purse bid, airs the fight. I think the fights on ESPN, at least based on their commentating, are as much better than on Showtime. So why not? Again, kudos to Tyson Fury for doing that, putting some money in his pocket and throwing another curveball at them. So I don't think the Wilder fight happens now, but not immediately. It happens maybe later on, but not immediately. Other than that, guys, we have a good weekend because I think DAZN on Saturday has a card from Tijuana, Mexico, home of the Ace of SoCal. Ace is just not only SoCal, Baja Cal. Kid is just everywhere. If you guys don't know Ace of SoCal, follow him on Twitter. He's a very entertaining guy, solid guy, and half a Golden Boy Staff's Uber driver. But again, DAZN, getting back to business, DAZN actually has its card. Interesting card because, again, it goes back to responsible matchmaking, like I was talking about earlier with the Molina and the Molina fight and Figueroa. Brandon Rios versus Humberto Soto, 12-round junior middleweight. So again, anything at above 147 and above is junior middleweight. So anywhere, I don't know what type of catch weight they have. I hope just for fuck's sakes it's all the way to 154, and then Brandon can just come in as chunky as he wants. I don't think he's ever been over 150, if I'm not mistaken. But here's what I mean by responsible matchmaking. Look, we all know Brandon Rios is past his prime, and he's seen better days. I'm not going to knock him for that. I think Father Time is undefeated, and that's just it. He's a little older. Nothing wrong with that. Humberto Soto, ni se diga, the same thing. He's a little older. He was a bit more of a technician as he was coming up, not like Brandon, which was just a ferocious fucking animal, just a beast of a fighter. But it's a fun fight, fun event, especially if you go to TJ. Look, guys, go to TJ, eat some tacos, take an Uber to the fight, come back, and you're good to go. I might actually do that, push comes to shove. But it's a good fight. It's a good card. And we're talking about, because this is a mix card, because who else has fighters here? I think Alexis Espino, is fighting. Siniesa Estrada's fighting. You got the Hector Tanajara versus Ivan Delgado, which is a very interesting fight. If you guys remember me talking about Ivan Delgado, striker, he was supposed to fight Gomez. Now, this might be a blessing for Ivan Delgado because, in my opinion, he wasn't going to see the fourth round versus Gomez. This fight, because, and I'm not knocking on Tanajara, but Tanajara is a completely different fighter. It's a fighter that boxes a lot more. Not as aggressive as Agames. A fighter is going to keep you away from with his jab. So now it's up to Ivan to try to go in there and try to rough him up, try to rough up Hector Tanajara Jr. Now, can he do that? That's the undercard fight that I'm really interested in. Of course, we got, the Joselito and whatnot, but Tanajara versus Striker is a fight that I'm really interested in. I think is a fight that Hector Tanajara Jr. might edge, should edge. He's a superior athlete here. But Ivan Delgado's been on a roll, man. Ever since his loss to Charles Huerta, he's gone and fought at 147. He's got in fight. Again, in Mexicali, I believe he had fought in Mexicali. He had fought. He fought another undefeated fighter from Golden Boy Stable. He's on a roll, and he's willing to take those chances to be great. And kudos to a fighter like that. But again, I think it might all stop. That Cinderella story might stop here with Tanajara. If he beats Tanajara, I'm not surprised. But Tanajara should have his way with him. Yeah, but that's it, guys. So look forward to it. If you guys haven't subscribed to DAZN, do it now. Fun little app. You get to rewatch some of the fights later on and whatnot. So get to it. All right, guys. Quick tip, if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate this 5 stars, or as a matter of fact, the stars that you want, hopefully it's 5. Comment, it does help with the visibility of the show. Guys, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll try to keep this as often as I can and do it as often and as possible as I can. This has been the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. Thank you and good night.